Hey guys, Kev here, and I have a full review to do for you. So this is the Giant Mouse ACE Nibbler. So I picked these up recently. First, I picked this up because they sent an email out about it, and they said, "Oh, the Nibbler's now out in purple aluminum." And for some reason, my brain said, "Oh, now's the time to get this one because it's purple." So I got it, and I at first unboxed it. I went to a lunch actually and unboxed it at lunch with some knife guys. And my first reaction was, it's just like I can't even flick the thing, right? And then I spent just, a few minutes with it, and I figured out how to flick it well, and I flipped the clip around to lefty. And then I was like, "Oh, I really like this knife. This is awesome." And I carried it that whole day, and I was just like so excited about it. And like an idiot, I went to their website and I bought two more nibblers. So I bought this one in the blue aluminum, and I bought this one in the green micarta with 20 CV. I always say M390, but it's 20 CV. So this has green micarta and 20 CV with 420 liners. This one has purple aluminum scales, 420 liners, and N690. This is a stonewash with bead blasted hardware. This is satin hardware with a satin blade, belt satin blade. This is the same, but blue aluminum. So blue aluminum, 420 liner, belt satin, N690 steel, satin hardware. And these are actually made by Riat in China, which is interesting because Riat is known for their high quality and their usually high price tags when it comes to their OEM work. Even their own work is expensive. For example, we have the Maverick S from Christensen Knife Works. This one started, I believe, at $380. Now, it did come, the base model came with micarta and zirconium hardware, like studs, collar, clip, backspacer was all zirconium. So $380, I think, was pretty fair. And 20 CV blade steel on this. I think the other ones are M390. I'm not sure. This one's camo carbon, Zircu tie all over it, and acid wash. And this was $485, made by Riat. Then you have this Brian Brown Jaeger M. This is a Fanatic Edge exclusive version. This was $500, I believe, because it has this cool golf putter milled scale. I have another one. This one is the Brittany Blue version from Brian Brown directly. And this one was, I believe, $372 new. I have some aftermarket stuff on it. What else do I have from Riat? I have, this one's relatively affordable. This is, I believe, $260 for this? This is the Urban EDC Vox F5.5. And this is made by Riat. They don't state that, but it's made by Riat. And this is in M390 steel. You can see that right there. Titanium scales, titanium liner lock, hand satin. And that's like $260. So definitely still a good price. And that might be it for things I own or have in that are made by Riat. Yeah, I have a lot of Best Tech lately. Got a lot of Best Tech here. And I got some QSP and some Kubi. But that is it for Riat. Guess I'm not sporting that much Riat anymore. That's crazy. I do have a couple things loaned out. But anyway, the point is, usually on a Riat-made knife, the bottom line price is like $280. And you're talking Pena X Series, right? Something like that is around $280 to start. And that's because he has just volume, just makes a lot of them and sells through dealers and whatnot. You do have a couple exceptions to the rule. So the Wingman EDC Mach, shit, was that thing called? Was it the Mach 3? I'm not sure. I can't remember the name of it now. It's Mach something. That liner lock version in G10, it's like this G-Mascus G10 stuff, was I think $180 with LMAX steel. And that's probably the best priced Riat I can think of, especially an OEM project. Even their own stuff is usually over $250, right? So the reason I bring that up is because the price point on these is very reasonable, in my opinion. Now, the materials are lower, but these aluminum ones are $95. So this is $95 for aluminum and N690 satin hardware and belt satin blade from Riat. Now, it is a 420 liner, which honestly I think is nice because you don't have to worry about the titanium on titanium. You don't have to worry about any lock stick kind of issues coming up, and it's going to be more cost effective. And ultimately, it's a freaking liner. Like, why does it need to be titanium unless you're trying to reduce weight, which you don't need to on this? So I think that choice was smart. $95. Now, it is a tiny knife, so take that into consideration. But these aluminum ones, which come in purple, blue, sort of a neon green, and a red, are $95. And then you have this micarta version, brass backspacer, and 20 CV blade for $155, which is still reasonable in my opinion. And then you have a titanium version with 20 CV. I assume that one's a belt satin, and that one is $185. Still has a brass backspacer, and sadly, these more premium ones still have the 420 liner, which that part, price-wise, is a little bit odd to me. You'd think either it would be cheaper or it would be a titanium liner, but does it matter? Nope. And they know that. So, those are your prices. So it goes from $95 up to $185, which I think, I mean, that's crazy. Under $200 for the highest, most premium version is good. Now, again, like I said, these are tiny, so let me just show you how tiny they are. I don't know if you guys have or have seen the EDC Nimble. You can see right there, it is dwarfing these knives. You have the ProTech knives Malibu. And again, absolutely dwarfing these knives. So it's just a very small knife. A comparison knife that I think would be good here would be the Baby Barlow from EDC. But let me just show you the Lander from NAFS right here. You have the Lander from NAFS, and then I'm carrying the Chickadee from Jacob Creates. This is a fixed blade, but very popular, and maybe some of you guys might have it, so you can see the size here. It is smaller than a Chickadee, which is a very, very small fixed blade. Gorgeous fixed blade, but very, very small. And let me grab the Baby Barlow, and then we can move on. This is the EDC Baby Barlow, designed by Justin Lundquist. Very cool knife. Really like this one. Very small knife. And the Nibbler is actually like not substantially, but it is smaller, and you can see it, at least in person. This is one of the best small knives ever. What I love about it is the top flipper. It just makes it so easy to deploy, and that's what makes this great. You can just, you don't need to have tiny hands or manipulation to get this to work. It just works really well, right? Where one of the issues with the Nibbler and the Riv, which is actually a bigger version of this basically, is it's such a small knife that it's hard to kind of like manipulate to get in a spot to flick it. And you have to basically learn to do it. It works. It's fine. But you have to learn to do it. And I will occasionally fail it like this, or I'll even like pop it out and kind of like stab my pinky on accident. And you just, you have things like that happen. It's very hard to thumb flick. Like, you have to wrist it out, basically. Unless you have this one that has, like, the strongest detent ever. Even then, trying to do it with no... Yeah, so I just can't do it. So it's very small. And so it's definitely going to be good for people with very small hands, right? But it might also be good for people with larger hands like me. I have a large glove size hand. So when I say larger, I mean larger than the small hands. Because it's just kind of cool to have a small knife on you occasionally. And, you know, it's fun to carry. And I don't know, I just like different things. And this is small and it's cool, right? But the cool factor, all that stuff has kind of worn off for me at this point. I have gone through the process, and this happens to me a lot, guys. I like something and I love it so much right away, and then I buy more of it. And then I'm like, oh, I should have waited until the honeymoon period was over. And I just don't do that. I always just get more. So I do wish I hadn't have bought these. I wish I had just kept this purple one, and I would probably just be content with this purple one. I think I will keep this. I don't think I'm going to sell them all, but I do plan to move along at least two of them, which is going to be these two because of two reasons, and I will explain those in a second. So they're all different, which is one of the problems with buying multiples of knives is you start to notice differences in the knives. And that bugs you because you have one that you bought that you really, really like that's perfect, right? And then you get another one and it's just not as good. Like the detent's not as strong or something about it is different. And that will bug you because you want them to be equal so that you can just pick the color you want and carry it, right? You don't have to decide based on how good something is, and why have one that's better than the other? You know what I mean? You might as well just not have it at that point. So that's kind of what happened here. I got this one, and I think the way they dialed this detent is perfect. It's strong enough that it's nice and crisp, has almost a click to it, right? If you flick it right-handed, it pops and it locks up. You can slow roll it out if you want. I did take this apart and put skiffs. There's actually skiffs in all three of these. You can kind of swing it down under your nail and shake it down. Skiffs are breaking in, obviously. It is dead centered. And left-handed, just very good. I mean, I feel like I can just pop it, no problem. Yes, occasionally, you know, I fail it like that. I'm like, eh. But it works pretty well. I can actually do the index finger close like this, come across, throw it down. Sometimes I do this where I'll let it disengage, and then I'll let it sit on the detent ball, and I'll kind of use it like a double detent, and I'll just pop it down like that. So it's kind of fun to do this. So I just found this one was really good, and then I ordered these, and I got this one first. I got them at the same time, but I opened this one first, and the detent was just... man, it was just too light. Like I kept failing it. Like I kept going like this, trying to flick it, and I would fail it. So naturally, after, you know, trying to flick it like 20 times to let it break in or whatever, I took it apart and I tuned it, right? So basically what I did was I bent the lock bar over a little bit to add some pressure so that I could get a crisper detent. But this one didn't naturally have it like this one. So the detent ball and the hole and everything lines up perfectly here and seats in. So it makes cool sounds and stuff. You get a ting sometimes. This one now is kind of like, yeah, we got more tension, but it's not necessarily like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not as crisp. But it flicks fine now. It's good to go. You can see there, like I can even miss it because it's strong enough. But the detent ball seems to be maybe because of the tension. Like if you look at the lockup, and I know I'm going really deep here, sorry. You hear that click when it popped out, and this one just doesn't do that. Look at the lockup. See how this one's more straight up, earlier lockup, and this one's a little bit later. And that's because I basically bent it over to get it to give me the detent I wanted. So when you go to swing this one down, it has a little bit of trouble getting past that detent ball. You have to give it a little bit of a shake. Now, it's still smooth and everything, but it doesn't quite fall. And maybe that'll break in. You can see there it did it. So, yeah, it's starting to break in already, which is good. But I was having it hang up, like, right there. And you just had to give it a little more of a shake. And this is, part of the problem is I can't spend time with all of these, you know. Not enough time. Anyway, I got this one dialed in pretty good, but the centering is slightly off. And the more I've used it, the more I've flicked it, the better it's become. It was more over to this side before. But now it's almost dead center. Again, this has skiffs in it. And these are all Loctited, or I should say glued, in position. And so they're tight, and it's just kind of working its way, I guess, back to center. I can't remember what it was before I took it apart the first time, so definitely could be on me. Another thing you'll notice is if I disengage, if I do the thing where I showed you where I kind of double detent this one doesn't kind of pop over that detent the same way. See that? Or this one, you see how it kind of pops over? So if it kind of wants to flick down, this one, it just wants to roll right over it. I'm putting about the same amount of pressure. But yeah, I can just flick it. So I'm being very, nitpicky. Now, this one, the Micarta one. This one's the opposite. This one's too strong a detent. So dead centered with skiffs, everything good. But the detent is just a little too strong. Like, I just have times where I literally can't flick it because it's just so strong. And part of that is it's a stonewash. And I did not know that when I bought it. I thought it was going to be a satin like everything else. I looked up the specs in terms of weight and all that stuff to make sure it was going to be what I wanted. And I overlooked the blade finish like an idiot. And I totally love this belt satin way more than this stonewash. But part of that is it's stonewash, so it's all tumbled in here. It's very smooth. Where this is a satin, so it's got a little bit of roughness to it. And it catches your finger better. So you can have a stronger detent and have it catch your finger. Where this, I just tend to kind of like, I don't know, miss it. And now, of course, it starts working every time. But like, there. And it hurts, honestly, to rip at your nail like that because I'm using the meat. And I can't get a nail in it. Right? So it's just a much stronger feeling detent. You'll see this one when I do that. Ow, see that one just was pulling my nail. But right-handed, it just seems to get in there a little better. I don't know if my nail is just getting a better part of my nail on this. But it's just very stiff. And again, you can see here, it pops across that detent better than that blue one. So I don't know how to explain it, but so yeah, so this one's just too strong basically for the finish, which is interesting. Again, it's on skiff, so if you push this, shake down, it's very smooth. This one's the smoothest out of the three. And honestly, this is the one I would want to keep if that detent was just a little bit, I don't know. So part of me is like, what if I did a blade swap and a hardware swap? So like, what if I did all satin hardware on this micarta with a satin blade, but then I got N690 on this, right? And then I got to put a stonewash on one of these aluminums, which, they're all shiny, so it kind of would look weird. So then it's like, it's just not worth it, right? And I've ultimately decided, like, this is not a knife that I'm going to run to pick up and carry a lot. It's just not, like the honeymoon phase ended. So it's just kind of over for me. Sorry, I'm breaking up with you, Nibbler. I love you, but I'm breaking up with you. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So I am going to, or by the time you see this, possibly have sold at least 2 of these, probably these 2. And I think this one's just a good middle ground. This one was great from factory. I didn't tweak this one at all. other than adding the skiffs, obviously, but it fires really well. So I think I'll just hang on to the purple one. You know, I have had no issue with the N690. That's one thing I want to mention, because this was kind of me testing N690 again. So I think maybe I just don't like N690 from Italy, because I just had issues with rusting and all types of stuff with the N690. But Riat seems to have done it well, although it is not the summer, so less likely to rust and whatnot. But yeah, so review-wise, aesthetics, I think it's a gorgeous knife. I do. I love Vox designs overall. I love the riv. If they did a riv in these configurations with the liner lock, I would buy a titanium liner lock version of the ACE riv so fast. I mean, yeah, it would be incredible. So hopefully they know that people like the liner locks and they'll do that. But yeah, it's gorgeous. Ergos, this is where a lot of people are probably like, it's too small. Well, it's Vox. So this tiny little nibbler fits my hand really well, and I can cut like this. I can get into a really good pinch grip like this and do draw cuts. Excuse me. It actually works really well for a small knife. Personally, I could get by day to day with just this. I mean, I don't do anything outrageous. I mean, it would be a little bit annoying probably cutting cardboard that I occasionally have to do, but I could do it. It would work. I'd probably just, I don't know what I would do, but it would suck probably. So maybe not. It would be a great backup knife though. So I think it's really cool, and there's a lot of people that collect these, and I think that's awesome. If I collect something, I want to be able to, you know, be excited about it and carry and use it. And this one just happens to be the best one. And it was just the first one I got, and I got too excited and jumped the gun trying to, you know, get more. So, aesthetics, ergos, carry is great. It has the wire clip. I have the giant mouse wire clip replacement from Lynch, but I'm not going to try that on this tiny knife, and it's black, so it's just going to look stupid. But the clip works great. If anything, maybe it's a little bit tight, you know, to get in your pocket. But I haven't had any issues. I've enjoyed it. It's very lightweight. This is 1.9 ounces. This is 1.8 ounces. And then the full titanium version is 2.5 ounces. So they're all really, really light. And let's see. Carry cutting. Yeah, I mean, the N690 has been good. It's really thin. I think I measured this around 15 thousandths. No, I measured it at 12 thousandths. Earlier today, I was measuring a bunch of stuff. And 12 thousandths behind the edge, which is really, really good. And it's held up well. I mean, I've done some good cutting with this. I've had to clean the blade off a few times with the knife shield. So I haven't been afraid to use it. That's one of the things I love about a little knife like this is it makes you want to use it. You're not worried about it. You know, it's $95. It's not the end of the world if I, you know, hit a staple or something with this. So I've really used it a lot, and I've had no issue. So that's good. Sounds on this one are fantastic. I mean, it really zings out of there. You'll get a ting on close sometimes. You know, but it's hit or miss, right? Like this one has shitty sounds. Just kind of dull. And I mean, it's better now that I tuned it a little bit, but this one's got the micarta, so again, it's going to be a little duller sounding, but it's okay. But this one has it easy on the sounds department. Love it. Action / fidget factor, and this is where it rubber meets the road a little bit. It's really, really cool. I love it. And I think part of me just wants to love it. You know, I love the overall aesthetic. I love the materials. I love the price. I love this. I just like a lot about it, right? All the color variations and everything. But ultimately, it's just too damn small, right? And that's where the Baby Barlow has such a good niche in the market is it's so small. It's about the same size, but because of the deployment method, it just doesn't matter. It could be even smaller, and it would still be just as fun and awesome to use because it has that top rolling flipper. It just doesn't matter. You can just grab it, rip it. You can do it that way. You can kind of dangle it and flick it. You know, you can kind of just hang it down like this and flick it. You can do a thumb flick if you want, and it just works so well. It's absolutely fantastic. And this just is a little bit harder for me to do all that with. One, that you have to worry about which side the clip's on. Two, you know, yes, I can get into a rhythm left-handed where I line it up and I pop it, and then I can sit there and fidget with it. But there's always the occasion where I almost cut myself, right? Like I almost drag my finger across here. I almost, you know, close it on my finger, or I do this, and I've more than once had it flick, and then my pinky somehow gets involved, and like I get stabbed in the pinky with like, it's just because it's so small, right? Like you just have to pay way more attention, and all of that ultimately leads to it not being something that's gonna stick around. But the cool factor of it made it to where it was so awesome in the honeymoon phase that I wanted more. So, you know, you got to decide what that means. I don't know. To me, it means I'm an idiot and I spent money I probably shouldn't have. But yeah, so I do love it. I do think it's a great knife. The action is, I mean, it's super smooth, right? Like it's not too loose or anything. I do think that they could have gone the route of the Baby Barlow and used really small bearings. They use absolutely, you've never seen bearings this small as what's in here. They're like this big. But because of that, it acts like a full-size knife would, right? Has a great detent. It swings down to your nail, and then it's just a smooth shake down. Like, it's got incredibly smooth and droppy action for a knife that is absolutely just microscopic, right? And this doesn't quite do that because it has full-size bearings. It has 5mm 1/16 bearings. Those are the same bearings that are in the F5.5, which you can see on that you have more weight in the blade, so it's going to just be a little bit smoother and almost drop shut. For reference, the FSD, this is the mini FSD, right? For reference, the FSD, which is almost a 4-inch blade, uses smaller bearings than this. This uses 3/16 pivot bearings. So they're very close in size, but they're actually smaller than what's in here. So you're just not going to get a guillotine. You're not going to get it to, you know, drop shut. You're going to have, the best case scenario is basically what I have here, right? Where you can get it to swing to your nail, and then you kind of just shake it down. This one's really smooth, or really got good action. It swings down and then just smooth shake. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying you're not going to get that Baby Barlow action on this because they went with full-size bearings. But it's really smooth and it's fun. I honestly enjoy flicking this. Flicking it and closing it and doing all the things with it like this. It is a fun knife to fidget with. So the fidget factor's there. All that stuff's there. The action's good. Ultimately, 1 out of 3 was not great. This detent just was not, for me, acceptable. I think some people probably would have been fine with it. Ultimately, I was able to dial it in, and it is acceptable now. The centering, I can't say if it was off when I got it because I wasn't paying enough attention. So I cannot put that on them, but could have been off center. But you can see, even the one that's not, like, great is still really good. So, all around, the Nibbler, 30 minutes later, the Nibbler is a fantastic knife, and if you like tiny knives, I highly recommend this. Even if you don't and you just want to try a really small knife, I think this is a good piece. I don't know if it's a great option for somebody who's, like, this isn't one that I would like instantly think of when you're like, ooh, I'd like to get my wife or somebody into knives. Let me get them this because it's small and purple, right? Yeah, that's a great sentiment, but it's not an easy knife really because it has the hole and, you know, it's kind of meant to be flicked like this. Slow rolling, sure, maybe with small hands it'd be easy, but I don't know. I honestly think bigger knives are easier for beginners, if that makes sense. Because you have less room for error. You know, what if they cut themselves doing what I said earlier, and then they're never going to want to pick one up again, right? Like, I'd be more likely to hand somebody this for the first time, right? Just a little bit bigger, still very manageable, comfortable size, easy to operate with thumb studs. You don't have to, like, figure out where your finger goes in a hole. You just teach them to do that, or slow roll it, or pinch and grab, right? And then you have the liner lock. Very similar, but just you get a little more size here, right? So, I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the ACE Nibbler. Fantastic knife from Giant Mouse. I'm really glad they brought this to market. And by no means I'm saying it's not a good knife, because I do plan on keeping one, and I think it's a really sweet knife. I just think I went a little too far, got a little too excited. I would love to see one in a belt satin, maybe in micarta, or what would be sweet is a carbon fiber version with a belt satin would be dope. I would pick that up. Or even one of these in 20 CV. Because I honestly like the aluminum. I think you're going to start seeing a lot more aluminum, guys. I kind of want to try it myself because it's probably a good way to bring cost down, but you're really not bringing quality down. Aluminum is a great handle scale material. Excuse me, and if you still put a good steel on it, I don't know. I kind of feel like you can get, $95 from Riat, you know? Think about that. Like, what if you could get, just hear me out here. Like, what if you got a Jaeger, full tie Jaeger, and it was just, full, no inlay or whatever, and it was aluminum instead of titanium, and instead of $330 base, it was $250 maybe. I don't know. Does that entice anybody? I don't know. I'm just saying. And I don't speak for Brian. I'm just putting things out there. Or like, what if you had a stout, right? No inlay or anything, just all aluminum, or anodized, hard anodized black aluminum or something. 20 CV blade, and instead of $300, it was $200 because it was aluminum. Aluminum's still a fantastic material for knives. So you can get into knives at a cheaper price. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think you're going to see it more is all I'm getting at. All right. I think I've talked enough. I love you guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you're still here and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. I found out recently more than half of you guys don't even subscribe. Leave me a like, comment, do all the cool stuff that, YouTube likes people to do. And let me know what you think about the ACE Nibbler. I think what I've learned from this experience is that this is awesome. I don't like micro knives, folders, I should say. I love the fixed blades. And if they did a liner lock version of the ACE Rib, it would be a happy day for me. That's my sweet spot, I think, is just a little bit bigger. Give me the choil, right? I love the ACE Rib. I just can't use it because it's too right-handed, because it's a frame lock. So, anyway, love you guys. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.